Leopard 2. Leopard 2. The Leopard 2 is a third-generation German main battle tank, MBT. Developed by Krauss-Maffei in the 1970s, the tank entered service in 1979 and replaced the earlier Leopard 1 as the main battle tank of the West German Army. Various iterations of the Leopard 2 continue to be operated by the Armed Forces of Germany, as well as 13 other European countries, and several non-European states around the world, including Canada, Chile, Indonesia, and Singapore. Some operating states have licensed the Leopard 2 design for local production and domestic development. There are two main development tranches of the Leopard 2. The first encompasses tanks produced up to the Leopard 2A4 standard and are characterized by their vertically faced turret armor. The second tranche, from Leopard 2A5 onwards, has an angled, arrow-shaped, turret applique armor, together with other improvements. The main armament of all Leopard 2 tanks is a smoothbore 120mm cannon made by Rheinmetall. This is operated with a digital fire control system, laser rangefinder, and advanced night vision and sighting equipment. The tank is powered by a V12 twin-turbo diesel engine made by MTU Friedrichshafen. In the 1990s, the Leopard 2 was used by the German Army on peacekeeping operations in Kosovo. In the 2000s, Dutch, Danish, and Canadian forces deployed their Leopard 2 tanks in the Afghanistan war as part of their contribution to the International Security Assistance Force. In the 2010s, Turkish Leopard 2 tanks saw action in Syria. In the 2020s, Leopard 2 tanks donated by several countries to Ukraine will see action in the Russian-Ukrainian war. History. Development. Then, as the Leopard 1 was just entering service, the West German military was interested in producing an improved tank in the next decade. This resulted in the start of the MBT-70 development in cooperation with the United States beginning in 1963. However, already in 1967 it became questionable whether the MBT-70 would enter service at any time in the foreseeable future. Therefore, the German government issued the order to research future upgrade options for the Leopard 1 to the German company Porsche in 1967. This study was named Vergoldeter Leopard, Gilded Leopard, and focused on incorporating advanced technology into the Leopard design. The projected upgrades added an autoloader, a coaxial autocannon, and an independent commander's periscope. The anti-air machine gun could be operated from inside the vehicle, and a TV surveillance camera was mounted on an extendable mast. The shape of the turret and hull was optimized using cast steel armor, while the suspension, transmission, and engine exhaust vents were improved. Following the end of the Gilded Leopard study in 1967, the West German government decided to focus on the experimental Entwicklung, experimental development, in a feasibility study and to develop new components for upgrading the Leopard 1 and for use on a future main battle tank program. At first 25 million DM were invested, but after the industry came to the conclusion that with such a low budget the development of the two projected testbeds was not possible, a total of 30 to 32 million DM was invested. The experimental development was contracted to the company Krauss-Maffei, but with the obligation to cooperate with Porsche for the development of the chassis and with Wegmann for the development of the turret. Two prototypes with different components were built with the aim of improving the conception of Leopard 1 in such a way that it would match the firepower requirements of the MBT-70. A high first hit probability at ranges of 2,000 meters, 6,600 feet, and the ability to accurately engage targets on the move using a computerized fire control system were the main goals of the experimental development. The resulting vehicles were nicknamed Keeler, Tusker. Two prototypes, ET-01 and ET-02, of the Keeler were built in 1969 and 1970, both of them being powered by the MB-872 engine. The MB-T-70 was a revolutionary design, but after large cost overruns and technological problems, Germany withdrew from the project in 1969. After unsuccessful attempts at saving the MB-T-70 by conceptual changes in order to eliminate the biggest issue, the driver being seated in the turret, it became clear in late 1969 that Germany would stop the binational development. The Assistant Secretary of the Military Procurement Division of the German Ministry of Defense suggested reusing as many technologies developed for the MB-T-70 as possible in a further program, which was nicknamed Bohr, due to his being named Eberhard. The Eber used a modified MB-T-70 turret and hull, with the driver being seated in the hull. Only a wooden mock-up was made. 1 year later, a choice was made to continue the development based on the earlier Keeler project of the late 1960s, instead of finishing the development of the Eber. In 1971, the name of the design was determined as Leopard 2, with the original Leopard retroactively becoming the Leopard 1, and Paul Werner Krapke became the project officer of the Leopard 2 program. Originally 2 versions were projected, the gun-armed Leopard 2K and the Leopard 2FK, which would be armed with the XM150 gun/launcher weapon of the MB-T-70. In 1971, 17 prototypes were ordered, but only 16 hulls were built as the production of hull PT-12 was cancelled. 10 were ordered initially before another 7 were ordered. The 17 turrets were designated T1 to T17, and the hulls were designated PT1 to PT11 and PT13 to PT17. To test a larger number of components and concepts, each prototype was fitted with components not found on the other prototypes. 10 of the turrets were equipped with 105mm smoothbore guns, and the other 7 prototypes were equipped with a 120mm smoothbore gun. Hulls PT-11 and PT-17 were fitted with a hydropneumatic suspension based on the MB-T-70 design. The running gears of these 2 hulls had only 6 road wheels. Different types of auxiliary power units, APUs, were mounted in the prototypes. All turrets were equipped with a machine gun for air defense, except the turret mounted on PT-11, where a 20mm remotely operated autocannon was mounted. With the exception of hulls PT-07, PT-09, PT-15, and PT-17, all prototypes used the MB-873 engine. The road wheels were taken from the MB-T-70 and the return rollers from the Leopard 1. The prototypes were designed with a projected weight of MLC-50, which equals approximately 47.5 tons, 46.7 long tons, 52.4 short tons. The welded turret utilized spaced armor formed by 2 steel plates. The prototypes were equipped with an EMES-12 optical rangefinder and fire control system, which later was adopted on the Leopard 1A4. In mid-1973, a new turret was designed by Wegmann, saving 1.5 tons, 1.7 short tons, weight. It was nicknamed the Spitzmaus term, shrew turret, due to the highly sloped front. This design was only possible with the new EMES-13 optical rangefinder, which required a base length of only 350mm, 14 in, instead of the previous 1,720mm, 68 in. Based on experiences in the Yom Kippur War, a higher level of protection than the prototype's heavily sloped spaced armor was demanded in late 1973, and the Spitzmaus term was never produced. The weight limit was increased from MLC 50 to MLC 60, which equals approximately 55 tons, 54 long tons, 61 short tons. The T-14 turret was modified to test a new armor configuration, taking on a blockier-looking appearance as a result of using vertical modules of spaced multi-layer armor. It was also used to test the new EMES-13 optical rangefinder. The modified T-14 turret was designated T-14 Mod and was fitted with a fully electric turret drive and stabilization system, which was developed jointly by General Electric and AEG Telefunken. American evaluation of Leopard 2 AV and XM1 Abrams. In July 1973, German Federal Minister of Defense George Leiber and his U.S. counterpart James R. Schlesinger agreed upon a higher degree of standardization in main battle tanks being favorable to NATO. By integrating components already fully developed by German companies for the Leopard 2, the costs of the XM1 Abrams, U.S. prototype tank developed after the MBT-70, could be reduced. A German commission was sent to the U.S. to evaluate the harmonization of components between the XM1 and Leopard 2. However, under American law it was not possible for a public bidder to interfere in a procurement tender after a contract with intention of profits and deadline was awarded to private sector companies. As a result, the modification of the Leopard 2 prototypes in order to meet the U.S. Army requirements was investigated. Following a number of further talks, a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, was signed on December 11, 1974 between Germany and the U.S., which declared that a modified version of the Leopard 2 should be trialed by the U.S. against their XM1 prototypes, after the Americans had bought and investigated prototype PT-07 in 1973. The MOU obliged the Federal Republic of Germany to send a complete prototype, a hull, a vehicle for ballistic tests and a number of special ballistic parts to the U.S., where they would be put through U.S. testing procedures for no additional costs. The Leopard 2 AV, austere version, was based on the experiences of the previous Leopard 2 development. It was created in order to meet the U.S. requirements and the latest protection requirements of the German mod. The T-14 mod turret was used as the base for the Leopard 2 AV's turret, but meeting the required level of protection for the hull required several attempts until the final ballistic trials on June 26, 1976. Following the U.S. preference of laser rangefinders, the turret of prototype PT-19 was fitted with a laser rangefinder developed together with the American company Hughes. In comparison with the earlier Leopard 2 prototypes, the fire control system was simplified by replacing the EMES-12 optical rangefinder and removing the crosswind sensor, the air pressure and temperature sensors, the powder temperature sensor, the Perrier 12 commander sight with IR searchlight, the short-range grenade launcher for use against infantry, the retractable searchlight, the spotlight, the retractable passive night vision sight, the APU, and the mechanical loading assistant. Due to the design and production of the Leopard 2 AV taking more time than expected, the shipment to the U.S. and the U.S. evaluation was delayed. It was not possible to test the Leopard 2 AV before September 1, 1976. Despite the German wish that the Leopard 2 AV and the XM1 prototypes would be evaluated at the same time, the U.S. Army decided not to wait for the Leopard 2 AV and tested the XM1 prototypes from Chrysler and General Motors beforehand. 2 new prototype hulls and 3 turrets were shipped to the U.S., PT-20 mounting a 105mm rifled L7 gun and a Hughes fire control system, PT-19 with the same fire control system but able to swap out the gun for the 120mm Rheinmetall smoothbore gun, and the PT-21 fitted with the Krupp Atlas Electronic EMES-13 fire control system and the 120mm Rheinmetall gun. The Leopard 2 AV fully met the U.S. requirements. A study made by the American FMC Corporation showed that it was possible to produce the Leopard 2 AV under license in America without exceeding the cost limits set by the U.S. Army. Before the trials were finished, it was decided that instead of the U.S. Army possibly adopting the Leopard 2 AV, the focus was shifted to the possibilities of common components between the two tanks. FMC, after having acquired the licenses for the production of the Leopard 2 AV, decided not to submit a technical proposal, as they saw little to no chance for the U.S. Army adopting a vehicle not developed in the U.S. The U.S. Army evaluation showed that on the XM1 a larger portion of the tank's surface was covered by special armor than on the Leopard 2 AV. Differences in armor protection were attributed to the different perceptions of the expected threats and the haste in which the Leopard 2 AV was designed to accommodate special armor. On mobility trials, the Leopard 2 AV performed equal to better than the XM1 prototypes. The AGT 1500 turbine engine proved to consume about 50% more fuel, and the deal tracks had a higher endurance, while the tracks used on the XM1 prototypes failed to meet the Army's requirements. The heat signature of the MTU diesel engine was much lower. The fire control system and the sights of the Leopard 2 were considered to be better, and the 120mm gun proved to be superior. The projected production costs for one XM1 tank were $728,000 in 1976, and the costs for one Leopard 2 AV were $56,000 higher. After the American evaluation of the Leopard 2 AV and the U.S. Army's decision to opt for the XM1 Abrams, both American and German sources blamed the other side. According to American literature, it was discovered that the Leopard 2 AV prototype used for mobility trials was underweight. In Germany, the test conditions were criticized for being unrealistic in favoring the XM1. Instead of using actual performance data, the calculated hypothetical acceleration was used. The XM1 was found to have a slightly higher rate of fire despite having internal layouts similar to the Leopard 2 AV because the XM1 prototypes were manned by professional crews, while the Leopard 2 AV had to be manned by conscripts in order to prove that the Leopard 2 AV was not too complicated. Firing on the move was demonstrated on flat tracks, which nullified the better stabilization systems of the Leopard 2 AV. The decision to put the Leopard 2 tank in production for the German Army was made after a study was undertaken, which showed that adopting the Leopard 2 model would result in a greater combat potential of the German Army than producing more Leopard 1A4 tanks or developing an improved version of the Leopard 1A4 with 105/120mm smoothbore gun, improved armor protection, a new fire control system, and a 1,200 horsepower, 890 kilowatts, or 1,500 horsepower, 1,100 kilowatts, engine. Various changes were applied to the Leopard 2 design before the series production started in 1979. The engine, transmission, and suspension were slightly modified and improved. The ballistic protection of the turret and hull was improved and weak spots were eliminated. The turret bustle containing the ready ammunition racks and the hydraulic system was separated from the crew compartment and fitted with blowout panels. The development of several new components was introduced to the Leopard 2 during the Leopard 2 AV development and after the U.S. testing was completed. For the series version, the Hughes-designed laser rangefinder made with U.S. common modules was chosen over the passive EMES-13 rangefinder. The EMES-13 system was considered to be the superior solution, but the Hughes system was cheaper and fully developed. The German company Krupp Atlas Elektronik acquired the license of the Hughes design and modified it to meet the needs of the German Army. The modified rangefinder received the designation EMES-15. The installation of the US AGT 1500 turbine engine in the Leopard 2 was tested by Mack. The AGT 1500 was from the United States and required deep modifications to the Leopard 2's chassis. However, driving tests at the WTD-41 revealed a number of drawbacks such as high fuel consumption and the poor performance of the transmission, including the brakes. This project was thus terminated. In January 1977, Germany ordered a small pre-series of 3 hulls and 2 turrets, which were delivered in 1978. These vehicles had increased armor protection on the front of the hull. One of the hulls was fitted with the earlier T-21 turret and was used by the German Army School in Munster for troop trials until 1979. In September 1977, 1,800 Leopard 2 tanks were ordered, to be produced in 5 batches. The main contractor was Krauss-Maffei, but Maschinenbau Kiel, MAC, was awarded a contract for producing 45% of the tanks. The first batch consisted of 380 tanks. The delivery of 6 tanks was scheduled for 1979, 114 for 1980, 180 for 1981, and 300 tanks each following year. The first series production tank was delivered on October 25, 1979. By 1982, all of the first batch of 380 Leopard 2 tanks had been completed. 209 were built by Krauss-Maffei, chassis number 10001 to 10210, and 171 by MAC, chassis number 20001 to 20172. The first production tanks were fitted with the PZB-200 image intensifier due to production shortages of the new thermal night sight system, which was later retrofitted to the earlier models. After the original 5 batches, 3 further batches of Leopard 2 tanks were ordered, increasing the number of Leopard 2 tanks ordered by Germany to a total of 2,125. The 6th batch was ordered in June 1987 and consisted of 150 tanks, which were produced between January 1988 and May 1989. The 7th batch of 100 tanks was produced between May 1988 and April 1990. The last batch for the German Army, totaling 75 tanks, was produced from January 1991 to March 1992. During its production run during the Cold War, 16 Leopard 2 tanks were being produced per month. The vehicles were produced at a slower rate in the following decades, however KMW still retained the capacity to return to such manufacturing levels should they need to be made again at a higher rate and supply chains are able to deliver sufficient materials. While previous models only varied in detail, the Leopard 204 introduced a digital ballistic computer and an improved fire extinguishing system. Starting with the 6th batch, tanks were fitted with an improved armor array and new side skirts. In 1984, the German Military Procurement Agency stated a number of requirements for a future Leopard 2 upgrade. In 1989, the Kampfvorsteigerung, Combat Potential Improvement, program was initiated in Germany with the delivery of first prototypes. The official military requirements were published in March 1990. The KWS program was projected to consist of 3 stages. The first stage replaced the Rheinmetall 120mm L/44 gun barrel and the corresponding gun mount with a longer-barreled and more lethal L/55 version. This stage was adopted in the form of 225 Leopard 2A6 tanks, starting in 2001 and lasting until 2005. Stage 2 focused on improvements of armor protection and survivability. It was adopted in the form of the Leopard 2A5, starting in 1995. The base armor of the tank was exchanged and additional armor modules were installed at the turret. The first batch of 225 Leopard 2 tanks was upgraded to Leopard 2A5 configuration between 1995 and 1998. A second batch of 125 followed from 1999 to 2002. The third stage was the planned replacement of the Leopard 2 turret by a new turret fitted with a 140mm NPZK tank gun, an autoloader, and the IFAS battlefield management system. The ballistic protection at the hull was to be improved. Originally, a total requirement for 650 Leopard 2 tanks with KWS-3 was projected. It was never finalized. but the 140mm NPZK tank gun was tested on an older prototype. In 1995, it was decided to cancel due to changes in the political environment. The funds were redirected to the Neue Panzer platform and New Armored Platforms project of the German Army. The Leopard 2A6M was developed with a kit providing enhanced protection against mines that can detonate below the hull, like mines with bending wire triggers, and explosively formed penetrator mines. The weight of the Leopard 2A6M is 62.5 tons. The latest version of the tank is the Leopard 207, which entered service in an initial batch of 20 tanks in 2014. Already before the first Leopard 2A7 tank was handed over to the German Army, plans for upgrades were made. At this time, an extensive increase in combat value, while retaining the original mobility of the Leopard 2, was planned. The optics of the tank will also be improved. In April 2015, Weltham Sontag claimed that tungsten, wolfram, rounds used in Leopard 2 cannot penetrate the Russian T-90 or the modernized version of the T-80. They also stated that the German military will develop a new improved round, but it will be exclusively developed for the Leopard 2A7. In 2015, Rheinmetall disclosed that it was developing a new 130mm smoothbore gun for the Leopard 2 tank and its successor. This gun will offer a 50% increase in performance and penetration. Marketing for the new gun was slated to begin in 2016. The Leopard 2 first entered service in 1979, and its service life is anticipated to end around 2030. In May 2015, the German Ministry of Defense announced plans to develop a tank jointly with France as a successor to both the Leopard 2 and Leclerc tanks. Technologies and concepts will be investigated to determine what capabilities are needed in a future tank. Deployment of the new tank, titled Main Ground Combat System, MGCS, will be preceded by incremental upgrades to the Leopard 2, including a new digital turret core system and situational awareness system and an active protection system, APS. A short-term lethality increase will come from a higher pressure 120mm gun firing new ammunition, expected to deliver 20% better performance than the L/55. Mid-term efforts will focus on a Rheinmetall 130mm cannon concept offering 50% better armor penetration. With the Russian T-14 Armata being equipped with the Afghanet, an active protection system designed to mitigate the effectiveness of ATGM, more importance is being placed on direct-fire weapons. Design. Protection. The Leopard 2 uses spaced multi-layer armor throughout the design. The armor consists of a combination of steel plates of different hardness, elastic materials, and other non-metallic materials. Steel plates with high hardness and high ductility are used. The armor is a result of extensive research about the formation and penetration mechanism of shaped charge jets. The Leopard 2's armor might be based on the British Burlington armor, which had already been demonstrated to West Germany in 1970. Later, in the mid-1970s, full details about Burlington were handed over to the West German government. The frontal arc of the Leopard 2's armor is designed to withstand large-caliber kinetic energy penetrators and shaped charge projectiles. During the 1980s, it was estimated that the Leopard 2's front would resist 125mm armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding SABO, APFSDS, rounds fired from a distance of 1,500 m. The Leopard 204's armor has a maximum physical thickness of 800mm, 31 in, based on unofficial measurements and estimates made by former conscripts and professional soldiers of the German Army. On the Leopard 2A5 and subsequent models, the thickness is increased by the wedge-shaped armor module to 1,500mm, 59 in. The side and the rear of the tank protect against heavy machine guns, medium-caliber rounds, and older types of tank ammunition. The side of the hull is covered by armor skirts to increase protection against projectiles and rocket-propelled grenades, RPGs. The frontal third of the hull sides is covered by heavy ballistic skirts, while the rest of the hull sides is covered by steel-reinforced rubber skirts. For increased protection against mines, the sides of the hull floor are sloped by 45 degrees and the floor is reinforced with corrugations. The Leopard 2's design follows the concept of compartmentation. Possible sources of fire or explosions have been moved away from the crew. In the turret, the ammunition and the hydraulics are located in compartments separated from the crew. In case of a detonation, the blow-off panels on the compartment roofs will direct the explosion and fire away from the crew. The crew is also protected against nuclear, biological and chemical, NBC, threats, as the Leopard 2 is equipped with a Draeger NBC overpressurization system, which provides up to 4 millibars, 4.0 HPA, overpressure inside the vehicle. 2 groups of 4 Wegmann 76mm smoke mortars are mounted on either side of the turret and can be electrically fired either as single rounds or in salvos of 4. They are mounted on most Leopard 2 models, with the exception of Dutch Leopard 2s, which are equipped instead with a Dutch-designed smoke mortar system with 6 barrels on each side. Swedish Stridsvagn 122 utilizes French Gaelic smoke dispensers, similar to the system found on the French Leclerc. The Leopard 2 is equipped with a fire protection system. For 9 kilograms halon fire extinguisher bottles are installed on the right behind the driver's station. The bottles are connected to pipes and hoses and are activated automatically by the fire detection system when temperatures rise above 82 degrees Celsius 180 degrees Fahrenheit inside the fighting compartment, or manually via a control panel in the driver's compartment. An extra 2.5 kilograms halon fire extinguisher is stored on the floor beneath the main gun. Following Leopard 2's introduction into service in 1979, the armor has been gradually improved over the years. A modified version of spaced multi-layer armor was introduced beginning with the 97th vehicle of the 6th production batch. The same batch also introduced an improved type of heavy ballistic skirts. The Leopard 2A5 upgrade focused on increased armor protection. While upgrading a Leopard 2 tank to the Leopard 2A5 configuration, the roof covering the armor modules is cut open and new armor modules are inserted. New additional armor modules made of laminated armor cover the frontal arc of the turret. They have a distinctive arrowhead shape and improve protection against both kinetic penetrators and shaped charges. The side skirts also incorporate improved armor protection. A 25 mm thick spall liner reduces the danger of crew injuries in case of armor penetration. The Leopard 2A7 features the latest generation of passive armor and belly armor, providing protection against mines and IEDs. The Leopard 2A7 is fitted with adapters for mounting additional armor modules or protection systems against RPGs. For urban combat, the Leopard 2 can be fitted with different packages of modular armor. The Leopard 2A4 MCAN, Leopard 2 PSO, Peace Support Operations, and the Leopard 2A7 can mount thick modules of composite armor along the flanks of the turret and hull, while slat armor can be adapted at the vehicle's rear. The armor modules provide protection against the RPG-7, which depending on the warhead can penetrate between 280 mm, 11 in, and 600 mm, 24 in, of steel armor. The Leopard 2A6M can increases protection against rocket-propelled grenades, RPGs, by including additional slat armor. Additional armor packages have been developed by a number of different companies. IBD Deisenroth has developed upgrades with MEXAs and Advanced Modular Armor Protection, AMAP, composite armor. The latter is being used on Singaporean and Indonesian Leopard 2 tanks. RUAG has developed an armor upgrade utilizing their Side Pro ATR composite armor. This upgrade was first presented on the IAV 2013. The Leopard 2A4M and 2A6M had an additional mine protection plate for the belly, which increases protection against mines and IEDs. On February 22, 2021, the German Defense Ministry agreed to acquire Trophy, an active protection system of Israeli design. 17 German Army tanks will be fitted with the system, with integration planned to be completed in 2023. Estimated levels of protection for the Leopard 2 range from 590 to 690 mm ray on the turret, 600 mm ray on the glacis and lower front hull on the Leopard 2A4, to 920 to 940 mm ray on the turret, 620 mm ray on the glacis and lower front hull on the Leopard 2A6 against kinetic projectiles. According to a description page hosted by the Federation of American Scientists, the armor of the Leopard 2A4 is believed to provide protection equivalent to 700 mm armor steel (RHA) against kinetic energy penetrators and 1000 mm RHA against shaped charge warheads. Armament. The primary armament for production versions of the Leopard 2 is the Rheinmetall 120 mm smoothbore gun. The same gun later adapted for use on the M1 Abrams, in either the L/44 variant, found on all production Leopard 2s until the A5, or the L/55 variant, as found on the Leopard 2A6 and subsequent models. Ammunition for the gun comprises 27 rounds stored in a special magazine in the forward section of the hull, to the left of the driver's station, with an additional 15 rounds stored in the left side of the turret bustle, which is separated from the fighting compartment by an electrically operated door. If the ammunition storage area is hit, a blow-off panel in the turret roof would direct an explosion upwards away from the crew compartment. The gun is fully stabilized, and can fire a variety of types of rounds, such as the German DM-43 APFS-DST anti-tank round, which is said to be able to penetrate 560 mm, 22 in, of steel armor at a range of 2,000 meters, 2,200 yards, and the German DM-12 high-explosive anti-tank, HEAT. For the L/55 gun, a newer APFS-DST round was introduced to take advantage of the longer barrel, the DM-53. Which is said to be able to penetrate 750 mm of ray armor at a range of 2,000 meters. The bore evacuator in the gun's thermal sleeve of the A4 and A5, designed to regulate the temperature of the barrel, are fabricated from glass-reinforced plastic. The barrel has a chrome lining to increase barrel life. The main gun is capable of power elevating from +20 degrees to -9 degrees. Rheinmetall has developed an upgrade for Leopard 2 tanks to give them the ability to fire the Israeli Laha anti-tank guided missile through the main gun. The missile can engage targets out to a range of 6,000 meters, 20,000 feet. The Leopard 2 is equipped with 2 machine guns, one mounted coaxially, the other on an anti-aircraft mount. German models use the MG 37.62 mm machine gun. Dutch and Singaporean models use FN-MAG 7.62 mm machine guns. Swiss models use Swiss MG 87 7.5 mm machine guns. 4,750 rounds of machine gun ammunition are carried on board the Leopard 2. More recent variants such as the Leopard 207 Plus are capable of mounting a remotely controlled weapons station fitted with a Browning M2 HB heavy machine gun, near the commander's hatch. The standard fire control system found on the Leopard 2 is the German EMES-15 fire control system with a dual magnification stabilized primary sight. The primary sight has an integrated neodymium yttrium aluminium garnet ND YAG laser rangefinder and a 120 element mercury cadmium telluride HGCDT, also known as CMT, Zeiss thermographic camera, both of which are linked to the tank's fire control computer. A backup 8x auxiliary telescope Faro Z18 is mounted coaxially for the gunner. The commander has an independent periscope, the Rheinmetall/Zeiss Peri R17A2. This is a stabilized panoramic periscope sight designed for day/night observation and target identification. It provides an all-round view with a traverse of 360 degrees. The thermal image from the commander's periscope is displayed on a monitor inside the tank. Initial production tanks were not equipped with a thermal sight, due to the sight not being ready, and instead temporarily substituted the PZB-200 low-light TV system, LLL-TV. The fire control suite is capable of providing up to 3 range values in 4 seconds. The range data is transmitted to the fire control computer and is used to calculate the firing solution. Because the laser rangefinder is integrated into the gunner's primary sight, the gunner is able to read the digital range measurement directly. The maximum range of the laser rangefinder is up to 10,000 m with a measuring accuracy within 10 m at this range. The combined system allows the Leopard 2 to engage moving targets at ranges of up to 5,000 meters whilst itself being on the move over rough terrain. Propulsion. The Leopard 2 is propelled by the MTU MB 873 Ka501 engine. It provides 1,500 PS, 1.1 megawatts, at 2,600 RPM and 4,700 Nm, 3,500 lb-ft, of torque at 1,600 to 1,700 RPM. The MTU MB 873 Ka501 is a 4-stroke, 47.7 liter, 90 degrees V-block 12-cylinder, twin-turbocharged and intercooled, liquid-cooled diesel engine, with multi-fuel capability. It has an estimated fuel consumption rate of around 300 liters per 100 kilometers on roads and 500 liters per 100 kilometers across the country, and is coupled to the Renk HSWL 354 gear and brake system. The Renk HSWL 354 transmission has 4 forward and 2 reverse gears, with a torque converter, and is completely automatic, with the driver selecting the range. The Leopard 2 has 4 fuel tanks, which have a total capacity of approximately 1,160 liters, giving a maximum road range of about 500 kilometers. The propulsion pack is capable of driving the tank to a top road speed of 68 kilometers per hour, limited to 50 kilometers per hour during peacetime by law, and a top reverse speed of 31 kilometers per hour. The power pack can be changed in the field in 35 minutes. The engine and transmission are separated from the crew compartment through a fireproof bulkhead. An enhanced version of the Europower pack, with a 1,650 PS, 1.2 megawatts, MTU MT883 engine has been trialed by the Leopard 2. The Leopard 2 has a torsion-bar suspension and has advanced friction dampers. The running gear consists of 7 dual rubber-tired road wheels and 4 return rollers per side, with the idler wheel at the front and drive sprocket at the rear. The tracks are Diehl 570F tracks, with rubber-bushed end connectors, which have removable rubber pads and use 82 links on each track. For use in icy ground, up to 18 rubber pads can be replaced by the same number of grousers, which are stored in the vehicle's bow when not in use. The upper part of the tracks are covered with side skirts. The Leopard 2 can drive through water 4 meters, 13 feet, deep using a snorkel, or 1.2 meters, 3 feet 11 inches, without any preparation. It can climb vertical obstacles over 1 meter high. The German Army has prioritized mobility in the Leopard 2, which has made it one of the fastest MBTs in the world. Exports. Germany has fielded about 2,125 Leopard 2 main battle tanks in various versions, but many were sold following German reunification. The Leopard 2 became very popular in the 1990s, when the shrinking German army offered many of its redundant Leopard 2s at a reduced price. It became successful enough in Europe that the manufacturer started calling it the Euro Leopard, despite France, Britain, and Italy all operating their own MBTs. With further non-European orders, the name Global Leopard is now used instead. Leopard 2 tanks have also been resold by original export customers, although re-export has always been conditional on consent from the German government, who control the platform's export license. Other countries have bought newly manufactured vehicles or have produced them locally under license. Europe. The Netherlands ordered 445 Leopard 2 tanks on March 2, 1979, after examining the results of the Leopard 2 AV in the United States. It became the first export customer of the Leopard 2, and the vehicles were delivered between July 1981 and July 1986. Dutch Leopard 2 tanks have been subsequently exported to Austria, Canada, Norway, and Portugal. Leopard 2 tanks remaining in Dutch service have been upgraded to 2A5 and 2A6 standards. The Swiss Army decided to purchase Leopard 2 tanks over the M101 Abrams after trialing both tanks between August 1981 and June 1982. The Swiss decision was made in August 1983, and the funding was approved by the government in 1984. 35 of the tanks were delivered by Krauss-Maffei by June 1987. IG Genossische Konstruktionswerkstatt started license production of 345 additional vehicles in December 1987. After investigating the option of a locally developed replacement for the STRV-103 tank, Sweden decided to buy a foreign tank model. The Leopard 2 improved, Leopard 2A5 prototype, won the competition against the M1A2 Abrams and the French Leclerc. The Swedish military also evaluated the Soviet T-80U tank, but separately from the other tanks. After intensive tests from January to June 1994, the Swedish military opted for the Leopard 2. The Swedish military found that the Leopard 2 improved met their military demands by 90%. The M1A2 met the Swedish requirements by 86%, whereas the Leclerc met 63%. In June 1994, Sweden ordered the production of 120 modified Leopard 2A5, to be known as Stridsvagn 122, STRV 122, in Swedish service. STRV 122 features Swedish-developed applique armor, a new command system, and improved electronics. Of the 120 STRV 122, 29 were manufactured in Germany by Krauss-Maffei Wegmann, while the other 91 were manufactured by the Swedish firms Bofors and Hägglunds. The first Stridsvagn 122 was delivered in December 1996. These remain in Swedish service and have received periodic upgrades. Sweden also leased and later bought a total of 160 Leopard 204 tanks in 1994 and 1995, known in Swedish service as Stridsvagn 121, STRV 121. The first STRV 121 was delivered in February 1994. The STRV 121 fleet was mothballed by 2006. Sweden has retained a number of STRV 121 tanks as training aids. 6 STRV 121 have since been converted into AEV-3 Kodiak armored engineering vehicles, and a further 6 have been converted into Leguan armored bridge layers. Denmark bought 51 ex-German Leopard 204 tanks after the Danish military school, the Herrens Kampskole, recommended basing the adoption of a new tank on the Swedish Army trials. The first tanks were delivered in 1998, but the upgrade to Leopard 2A5 level was already decided the next year. In 2004 to 2006, the Danish Army bought another 6 ex-German Leopard 2 tanks. In 1998, Greece held a competition to determine the main battle tank for the Hellenic Army. The Leopard 2 improved managed to outperform the Challenger 2E, Leclerc, M1A2 Abrams, T-80U, and T-84 and was chosen by the Greek officials. In March 2003, Greece ordered 170 Leopard 2 tanks, of which 140 were locally assembled. Greece also bought 183 Leopard 2A4 and 150 Leopard 1 tanks. Spain initially leased 109 Leopard 2A4 tanks, after Krauss-Maffei withdrew from the Linz development. A special lighter version of the Leopard 2 developed together with Santa Barbara Sistemas. Before the end of the Linz tank, Spain had already rejected the M101 Abrams and the Vickers Valiant. After deciding to purchase the leased tanks, Santa Barbara Sistemas acquired the license to locally produce 219 Leopard 2A6 tanks for the Spanish Army. Poland received 128 Leopard 2A4 tanks from German Army stocks in 2002. In 2013, Poland ordered a further 119 ex-German Leopard 2s. Finland bought 124 used Leopard 2A4 tanks and 6 armored bridge layer Leopard 2L tanks from Germany in 2002 and 2003. The tanks served as replacements for the old Soviet-made T-55 and T-72M1. The Netherlands resold 114 of their tanks, and 1 turret, to Austria, 80 to Canada in 2007, 52 to Norway, 37 to Portugal and 100 to Finland. In December 2018, Hungary placed an order for 44 Leopard 2A7 Plus S and 12 second-hand 2A4S. The order coincided with the procurement of 24 Panzerhaubitze 2000, and was expected to replace Hungary's current fleet of T-72 tanks no sooner than 2020. In February 2023, the Norwegian Prime Minister, Jonas Gahr Støre, announced that Norway would be ordering 54 new Leopard 2A7 tanks at a cost of NKR 19.7 billion, with a further option for 18 vehicles to be delivered at a later date. The first Leopard 2A7s are due to be delivered by 2026, and operational by 2031. The Norwegian government had been weighing up either the Leopard 2A7 or the South Korean K2 Black Panther as a replacement for its aging Leopard 2A4 fleet. Failed exports. Saudi Arabia has shown interest in buying the Leopard 2 since the 1980s. Due to political circumstances and the questionable situation of human rights in Saudi Arabia, no deal was made. Saudi Arabia renewed its intention of buying Leopard 2 tanks in 2011. While earlier news reports suggested an interest in buying about 200 tanks, later reports revealed an increased order of 600 to 800 tanks. The German government at first approved the deal, but cancelled it later due to human rights concerns and Saudi Arabia's military intervention in the 2011 Bahraini uprising. The Leopard 2 was tested by the United Kingdom. In 1989, the Leopard 2 was evaluated as a possible replacement for the Challenger 1 tank. Ultimately, the British Armed Forces decided to adopt the locally made Challenger 2. The Australian Army evaluated ex-Swiss Army Leopard 2s as a replacement for its Leopard 1AS tanks in 2003, but selected the M101 AIM instead due to easier logistics. More modern versions of the Leopard 2 or M1 Abrams, such as the Leopard 2A6, were not considered due to their higher price. Beyond Europe. In 2005, Turkey ordered 298 Leopard 2 tanks from German Army stocks. The Leopard 2 was chosen in 2001 after successfully competing 1 year earlier in the Turkish Army trials against the T-84 Yatagan, Leclerc, and a version of the M1A2 Abrams fitted with a German MTU diesel engine. Turkey wanted to buy 1,000 Leopard 2 tanks in 1999, but the German government rejected the deal. Singapore bought 96 Leopard 2 tanks from Germany in 2006. Chile bought 172 ex-German Leopard 204 tanks and 273 Marder 1A3 IFVs in 2007. Indonesia ordered 103 Leopard 2 tanks and 42 Marder 1A3 IFVs in 2013. At first, the export of heavy weapons to Indonesia was not allowed by the German government due to the questionable human rights record of Indonesia. 61 of the 103 Leopard 2 tanks will be upgraded by Rheinmetall to the Leopard 2 RI standard, based on Rheinmetall's Revolution modular upgrade concept. Qatar ordered 62 Leopard 2A7 tanks and 24 Panzerhaubitze 2000s in 2013. The delivery of the tanks started in late 2015 and the first tanks were displayed on a military parade in December 2015. Transfer to Ukraine. Since April 2022, in the wake of the Russian invasion, the Ukrainian government has requested that their allies donate Western-made main battle tanks. Poland, Finland and others have all announced a willingness to contribute Leopard 2 tanks from their stocks, with around 100 tanks from various states ready to be transferred to Ukraine. However, when Germany exported the tanks to these countries, it had made re-export conditional on a German government permit, as based on the Kriegswaffenkontrollgesetz and Außenwirtschaftsgesetz. Until January 22, 2023, it was unclear whether such a consent would be provided, with Germany determined to avoid any perception of escalating the conflict and wary of being labeled an aggressor. Germany has also been keen to extract an American commitment to provide its own M1 Abrams tanks before sending German-made Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. The matter was discussed at a conference of defense ministers from NATO members and allies, but no agreement was reached. The German position was heavily criticized by some of the other European governments, with Poland threatening to unilaterally export their Leopards if permission from Berlin was not given. The Polish and Ukrainian governments then announced that Ukrainian soldiers would start training on Polish Leopard 2 tanks in Poland. On January 22, 2023, the German Minister for Foreign Affairs, Annalena Baerbock, told French media that Germany would not stand in the way of any Polish decision to send Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, but noted that for the moment the question has not been asked. 2 days later, Poland made an official request for permission to transfer Polish Leopards to Ukraine. On January 24, Der Spiegel reported that the German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, would the following day officially announce the transfer of an undisclosed number of German Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, beginning with 14 Leopard 2A6s from the active Bundeswehr inventory. The German government would also give permission to any country seeking to re-export Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. These reports were formally confirmed by the German government on January 25. It was also reported that Boris Pistorius, the German defense minister, was encouraging Leopard operating states to start training Ukrainian personnel in their use. The German decision to provide and approve the provision of Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine has come after U.S. President Joe Biden decided to provide Ukraine with M1 Abrams tanks, as Germany has insisted on, concluding that it is important to move in lockstep with its allies. The decision to provide M1 Abrams tanks had previously been opposed by the Pentagon. On February 15, 2023, Pistorius expressed his frustration at Germany's allies in their announcement of any donations of Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, saying it had not been exactly breathtaking, to put it mildly. Since the change in German position on exports, only Poland had matched the German promise to provide 14 tanks, the 2 largest donations from a single country. Germany. On January 25, 2023, the German government confirmed that it would make 14 Leopard 2A6, a company strength number, available for Ukraine and would give authorization to European partners to re-export their vehicles. The goal is for European Leopard 2 operators to provide 2 battalions worth, or 88 tanks, to Ukraine. According to the German government, the tanks will be delivered to Ukraine after training Ukrainian servicemen. This process would take up to 3 months. Some tanks are held by the Bundeswehr, others by the Leopard manufacturer Rheinmetall. The latter has said they could be ready to be dispatched by March 2023. However, they also warned that some vehicles held in long-term storage would require extensive refurbishment and updating before they could be considered suitable for combat in Ukraine. On January 26, Pistorius, the German Minister of Defense, stated that the tanks would be delivered in late March or early April. On February 24, 2023, the German Department of Defense confirmed Germany would increase its Leopard 2A6 contribution from 14 to 18, thus providing one full tank battalion together with the contributions of Portugal and Sweden. On March 27, 2023, Germany delivered 18 Leopard 2A6 tanks to Ukraine with 2 accompanying armored recovery vehicles and necessary spare parts. On March 28, 2023, the Security Board of the Swiss National Council recommended that 25 Leopard 2 in storage should be sold to the German manufacturer Krauss-Maffei Wegmann so that Germany can replace some of its own tanks now serving in Ukraine. As of this day, Switzerland keeps 96 Leopard 2 in storage. As the tank's sale requires decommissioning, the Bundeswehr waits for approval by the Swiss Parliament. Poland welcomed the German decision to allow the transfer of Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, with the Polish government announcing on January 25 it would transfer 14 Leopards to Ukraine from a total Polish stock of 247, in addition to a further 50 to 60 Soviet-era tanks. On February 24, 2023, the first 4 Leopard 2A4 tanks from Polish stocks were delivered to Ukraine. These are the first Leopard 2 tanks to be operated by Ukraine. Canada. On January 26, 2023, the Canadian Defence Minister, Anita Anand, announced that Canada would be sending 4 Leopard 2A4 tanks to Ukraine, with the potential for more to follow. These vehicles were reportedly combat-ready. Canada will also provide appropriate training to Ukrainian forces who will go on to operate these tanks. The first Canadian Leopard 2 tanks had arrived in Poland on February 5 to allow Ukrainian troops to begin training. On February 24, the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, announced that Canada would be sending a further 4 Leopard 2A4 tanks to Ukraine along with 1 armored recovery vehicle, ARV, and 5,000 rounds of ammunition. On January 20, 2023, the Czech Defense Ministry issued a statement that the media reports indicating the Czech Republic and Slovakia were willing to give up their Leopard 2 tanks for Ukraine were false, and that rumors that the Czech Republic would receive American Abrams tanks in exchange for Leopards were also false. As of December 2022, both countries had only received 1 Leopard 2A4 each from Rheinmetall as part of Germany's Ringtausch program in exchange for them delivering older Soviet equipment to Ukraine, while the remaining Leopard 2A4s are still being refurbished, expected to be delivered throughout 2023. Denmark. While it has been reported in the international press that Denmark has signaled that it could contribute a number of tanks, there has been no official indication from the Danish government that any Danish Leopards 2 will be sent to Ukraine. Of the Danish inventory of 44 tanks, 14 are currently deployed to Estonia as part of NATO EFP, with a further number receiving upgrades from German manufacturers. Some Danish opposition politicians have voiced support for a transfer of Danish tanks. Unlike those being considered by other countries, the Danish Leopards are of the new 207 standard, which would represent some logistic and mechanical challenges compared to the other variants. Denmark instead announced on February 7 that it was jointly purchasing 100 to 178 Leopard 1A5 tanks with Germany and the Netherlands. Denmark also announced on April 20, 2023 that they would jointly finance with the Netherlands the purchase and refurbishing of 14 Leopard 2A4 for Ukraine from private industry stocks. Finland. Finland had suggested before the German decision on re-export that it could supply Ukraine with a limited number of Leopard 2 tanks. The Finnish president, Sauli Niinisto, warned that the number of tanks, to be sent to Ukraine cannot be large, since Finland borders on Russia and is not part of NATO. On February 23, Finland announced it will give 3 Leopard 2R mine-clearing vehicles to Ukraine. Finnish total stock of this type will return the same, 6, with planned purchase of 3 replacement vehicles from Germany. Greece. On January 25, 2023, it was reported that Greece was one of the countries that had indicated it would supply Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. On January 29, 2023, it was erroneously reported that approximately 14 Leopard 2 tanks would be provided, though it was unclear if it would be the 204 or 206 HEL variant. However, on January 31, Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis clarified that Greece would not supply any Leopard tanks to Ukraine, arguing they are absolutely necessary for our defense posture. Netherlands. The Netherlands was considering Ukrainian requests for Leopard 2 tanks, with Prime Minister Mark Rutte suggesting that the Dutch government could purchase tanks from other countries and donate them. There were also some discussions about Netherlands purchasing the 18 Leopard 206 tanks they lease from Germany. No refusal was made from Germany to sell them, as no formal request to buy them was made. Both countries agreed that they were critical to the operations of the joint German-Dutch military unit. However, the Netherlands agreed to supply ammunition for Leopard tanks and announced it had not abandoned its intention to contribute to the tank initiative, while also noting it was helping to purchase Leopard 1A5 tanks with Denmark and Germany. The Netherlands later announced it was jointly financing with Denmark the purchase and refurbishing of 14 Leopard 204 for Ukraine from private industry stocks, with delivery expected in early 2024. Norway. On January 25, 2023, Norway pledged to donate spare Leopards to Ukraine, with reports speculating that between 4 and 8 of its 36 Leopard 204 tanks would be sent. Norwegian Defense Minister Bjørn Arild Gram said in an interview with Norwegian public television NRK, Norway and the government support the donation of battle tanks to Ukraine. Norway will take part, but did not specify how many would be sent. On February 14, 2022, Gram announced that 8 Norwegian Leopard 2 tanks and 4 Leopard 1 or 2 derived special purpose vehicles would be handed over to Ukraine. The special purpose vehicles will be a mix of armored recovery vehicles and bridge layers. In February 2023, Norway ordered 54 Leopard 207 tanks to be delivered from 2026, with a further option for 18 vehicles if necessary. Portugal. When the German government changed its position on the re-export of Leopard 2 tanks, it was reported that the Portuguese government was preparing to send 4 of their Leopard 206 tanks to Ukraine. On February 4, Prime Minister Antonio Costa confirmed that Portugal would send Leopards to Ukraine, but did not confirm the number of vehicles set to be delivered. It is understood that Portugal is working with Germany to obtain the necessary parts to repair inoperable tanks in its inventory of 37 Leopard 2 tanks, but it has been widely reported by local media that most are inoperable. Costa expressed hopes that Portuguese tanks would be delivered by March 2023. On February 14, it was reported that Portugal had earmarked 3 Leopard 206 tanks for donation to Ukraine. Slovakia. On January 25, 2023, Slovakia announced it was not considering the transfer of any of its Leopard 204 tanks to Ukraine, but were willing to provide T-72 tanks if other allies replaced them with other tanks. The reason cited for this was that Slovakia had only received one of the 15 Leopard tanks it was promised as part of Germany's Ringtausch program, which it was getting in exchange for supplying Ukraine with 30 Soviet-era infantry fighting vehicles. The Swiss company RUAG offered an upgrade package for PZ-87 main battle tanks to meet a possible requirement of the Swiss Army for improved protection. It is fitted with a new modular composite armor package. Armor modules can be tailored to provide enhanced protection against a specific threat. Damaged modules can be easily replaced in field conditions. Upgraded tanks are less vulnerable to direct hits, anti-tank missiles, RPG rounds, mines, and IEDs. The vehicle received new sensors such as a sniper detection sensor and a laser warning receiver. In 2021, the 2 prototypes with add-on armor were handed to the Milita Undi Festens Museum Fulriuenthal 200. The Indonesian Army operates the Leopard 2 Republic Indonesia or Leopard 2 RI, an upgraded variant based on Rheinmetall's MBT Revolution upgrade for the Leopard 2A4 tank. The upgrade includes AMAP armor from IBD Diesenroth and Rheinmetall Chempro, improved fire control systems, and battlefield management and situational awareness systems. The PZ-87-140 is an experimental variant of the Swiss PZ-87 with a 140mm gun and additional armor, which was later used on the newer production variants. The Leopard 2A4 CHL is the upgraded Chilean version of the Leopard 2A4 ordered by Chile in 2007. Upgrades include new electronics, sighting, and information systems meant to elevate the Leopard 2A4's networking capability to be equal to that of the Leopard 2A6, a new suspension system, and the upgrading of the tank main gun to the L/55 smoothbore cannon used on the Leopard 2A6. Other upgrades are remote weapon stations over the gunner and commander hatches fitted with the MG3 and HKGMG. The Leopard 2A4 CHL has improved roof and side turret armor and can be uplinked with Chile's battlefield control network. The Leopard 2A4M is the upgraded Canadian version of the Leopard 2A4 acquired from the Royal Netherlands Army surplus. The Leopard 2A4M is specially designed for the war in Afghanistan, based on experience gained by Leopard 2 operators. The first 20 were delivered in October 2010. 5 were deployed to Afghanistan at the end of 2010 and operated until July 2011, when combat operations stopped. Though originally planned to be upgunned to the L/55 for consistency with the 2A6M can, the longer-barreled guns, optimized for tank versus tank warfare, were found to be less than ideal in Afghanistan, therefore it was decided to retain the L/44. Only small areas of slat armor were added, in contrast with the fully caged 2A6M cans. The protection of the Leopard 2A4M has been further augmented by the addition of applique armor resembling that found on the most recent Leopard 2A7 Plus variant, but modified to fit the turret configuration of the 2A4. Of the 2A4S acquired, 11 were converted for training use, 9 A4S, 2 A4MS. In February 2011, Canada bought 12 2A4S/PZ-87 from Switzerland for the Force Mobility Enhancement Project which, along with the remaining and used ex-Dutch tanks, saw 18 converted to armored engineering vehicles and 4 converted to armored recovery vehicles. Canada has also purchased 15 2A4S from Germany as logistic stock vehicles, for spare parts. The Leopard 2NG, next generation, is a privately funded Turkish upgrade by Aselsan that includes the application of AMAP, upgraded optics, completely overhauled turret mechanics, and a new fire control system on the work since 1995 and to be delivered by late 2011, which is intended to be used on the new Altay MBT. It was developed without an order from the Turkish Army, but might meet the requirements for the modernization of the Turkish Leopard 2A4S. The old power pack and the L/44 gun barrel are kept, but the combat weight is increased to 65 tons. According to Turkish news sources, Finland was interested in getting the Turkish upgrade package to modernize their fleet of Leopard 2A4S. However, in 2015 Finland purchased 122 A6 vehicles from the Netherlands. The Leopard 2 hull was used for the Vickers Mk7 main battle tank, which featured a British-designed turret, where some of the innovations later were incorporated into the Challenger 2 design. In December 2015, Björnmalabdi signed an agreement with German Rheinmetall Landsystem GmbH concerning the technological support of the Polish modernization program for Leopard 2A4 tanks. The company will design, document, and execute 6 prototypes. The first upgraded Leopard 2 PLs have arrived in Poland in June 2020, with all 142 tanks to be delivered by 2023. The upgrades include third-generation night vision systems, production of the Warsaw PCO, new additional armor modules and anti-splash lining, removal of flammable components, turret drive system and main propulsion system, installation of the new fire protection system, modernization of the tank's integrated monitoring and testing equipment, the possibility of using new types of ammunition, programmable DM11 and DM63, and an auxiliary generator set, APU. Construction of all 142 units will be completed by the end of 2020. Turkey is planning to modernize its Leopard 2A4 MBTs as Leopard 2A4 TR with the T1 modernization package. According to the Defense Industry Presidency, Leopard 2A4 tanks will be modernized with Explosive Reactive Armor (ERA), T1 Reactive Passive Armor, High Ballistic Strength Cage Armor, Hollow Modular Add-on Armor, Close Range Surveillance System, YAMS, Laser Warning Receiver System, LIAS, SARP Remote Controlled Weapon System, UKSS, Pullet Active Protection System, AKS, a new Power Distribution Unit, a Selson Driver Surveillance System, ADS, and Voice Alert System integrations. The modernization program is to be completed in 2 batches. The program will start with 84 Leopard 2A4 tanks in the first batch, and the remaining tanks will be modernized within the second batch. A total of 334 tanks, including prototypes, are planned to be upgraded with the T1 modernization program. The new modernized Leopard 2A4 that was presented at the BMC factory was fitted with an Altai turret, which is armed with one 120mm 55 caliber smoothbore gun designed and manufactured by the Turkish company MKE, based on a technology transfer from Hyundai Rotem of South Korea. A remote-controlled weapon station is mounted on the top of the turret, which is armed with a 12.7mm caliber heavy machine gun. In April 2023, during training by Ukrainian forces in Europe, a Leopard 2A4 was damaged in training, with the turret being completely dislodged from the hull. The crew are reported as being fine. The accident may be due to crew error or because of the age of the tank. Spain. On June 4, 2022, it was reported that Spain was considering providing 40 of its 53 retired Leopard 2A4 tanks stored in Zaragoza. On June 8, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz denied receiving any formal request from Spain for an export permit for Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. However, it was later confirmed on June 10 by the Spanish defense minister they were considering the transfer. On June 12, anonymous government sources told Der Spiegel that the Scholz government blocked any transfer of Leopard tanks to Ukraine, arguing this would constitute a departure from an informal NATO decision not to provide Western tanks at that time. By August 2, Spain officially backtracked on its decision, arguing the tanks at Zaragoza were in deplorable condition and that it could not send any. The Spanish government was later reported to be considering to send an unconfirmed number of Spanish Leopard 2E tanks to Ukraine in January 2023 following a meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. On February 14, the Spanish Defense Minister Margarita Robles confirmed Spain was providing training to 55 Ukrainian tank crew members and technicians on the Leopard 2. On February 22, Robles also confirmed that Spain was in the process of preparing 6 Leopard 2A4 tanks for delivery to Ukraine by late March or early April. On February 5, 2023, it was reported that at least 11 of the 53 tanks stored at Zaragoza had been drawn out of storage to be refurbished and upgraded to have the same lethality as modern versions of the Leopard 2 before being sent to Ukraine. 5 were sent to the Santa Barbara Sistemas plant in Alcalá de Guadera and 6 had already been moved to Seville for diagnostics and repairs. The Ministry of Defense had not published the contracts for the retrofits out of secrecy. It was unclear, however, if ammunition would be supplied with the tanks as Spain only has 9 rounds for each of its Leopard 2E tanks. On February 23, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez confirmed during a visit to Kiev that Spain was sending at least 10 Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Sweden. Sweden began considering Ukrainian requests for Leopard 2 tanks in January 2023 and did not rule out contributing its STRV-122 at a later stage. On February 24, the Swedish Minister of Defense Pål Jonson announced that Sweden would be providing 10 Leopard 2A5 tanks to Ukraine. Combat history. K4. Starting on June 12, 1999, 28 Leopard 2A5 tanks were deployed to Kosovo by the German Army as part of the Kosovo Force, K4. The vehicles of Panzer Battalion 33 and 214 were sent from Macedonia to Prizren. They were used for patrols, protecting checkpoints and bases as well as part of the show of force. On June 13, 1999, two members of the Serbian paramilitary started firing from inside a Fiat 125P car at one of the checkpoints in Prizren, and both were killed by return fire. A Leopard 205 was located at the checkpoint, but it could not participate in the fighting as it was only partially crewed. On June 26, 1999, a Leopard 2A5 fired 4 warning shots above the town of Orahovac. From late 2000 to early 2001, the tanks were replaced by the Leopard 2A4 model. Leopard 2A4s were deployed to Macedonia in 2001 as part of the NATO intervention. The tanks served to protect Bundeswehr logistics sites in Macedonia. Until their return in 2004, the Leopard 2 tanks were stationed at the Austrian-Swiss Camp Casablanca. EFAR/S4. The Dutch contingent in Bosnia-Herzegovina operated Leopard 2 tanks. Dutch Leopard 2A4s and Leopard 2A5s were stationed at the NLD bases at Bugono, Novi Travnik, Sisava, Nazivo, Maslover, and Suaka. ISAF/OEF. In October 2003, Canada was planning to replace its Leopard C2S with wheeled Striker mobile gun systems. However, operational experience in Afghanistan, and in particular during Operation Medusa, convinced the Canadian military of the usefulness of maintaining a tank fleet. Leopard C2S were deployed to Kandahar in December 2006, but they were by then almost 30 years old, and were nearing the end of their operational life. The Canadian government decided to borrow 20 Leopard 2A6s and 3 armored recovery vehicles from Germany for rapid deployment to Afghanistan. In late August 2007, the first Leopard 2s were airlifted into Afghanistan to equip Lord Strathcona's Horse, Royal Canadians. In an assault on November 2, 2007, a Leopard 2A6M hit an improvised explosive device, IED, and survived without casualties. My crew stumbled upon an IED, improvised explosive device, and made history as the first crew to test the Leopard 2A6M packet. It worked as it should, wrote a Canadian officer in an email to German defense officials. Canadian Chief of the Defense Staff General Rick Hillier denied reports that a Leopard 2 tank that was struck by an IED was a write-off, insisting that the tank has been repaired and is once again in use. The Taliban have been engaged with some of the new Leopard 2 tanks in several ambushes, and that as a result the Taliban learned some very harsh lessons and lost the battle in question very quickly and very violently. In October 2007, Denmark deployed Leopard 2A5DKs in support of operations in southern Afghanistan. The Danish tank unit, drawn from the 1st Battalion of the Jydsk Dragon Regiment, Jutland Dragoons Regiment, was equipped with 3 tanks and 1 M113 armored personnel carrier, with an armored recovery vehicle and another tank kept in reserve. The Danish version of the Leopard 2A5 is fitted with Swedish-made Barracuda camouflage mats that limit the absorption of solar heat, thus reducing infrared signature and interior temperature. It also has a conventional driver's seat bolted on the floor of the tank, whereas in the Canadian 2A6M, as part of the mine protection package, the driver's seat has been replaced by a dynamic safety seat, which is a parachute harness-like arrangement that the driver wears around his hip. This way, the driver does not have any contact with the hull except on the pedals and is out of the shockwave area of exploding landmines or IEDs. In January 2008, Danish tanks halted a flanking maneuver by Taliban forces near the Helmand River by providing gunfire in support of Danish and British infantry from elevated positions. On February 26, 2008, a Danish Leopard 2 was hit by an explosive device, damaging one track. No one was injured and the tank returned to camp on its own for repairs.
The first fatality suffered by a crew operating a Leopard 2 happened on July 25, 2008.
A Danish Leopard 2A5 hit an IED in Helmand province. The vehicle was able to continue 200 meters, 656 feet, before it halted. 3 members of the 4-man crew were able to escape even though wounded, but the driver was stuck inside. On-site treatment by Danish medics could not save him. The vehicle was towed to Forward Operating Base, FOB, Adel, and then later to FOB Armadillo for investigation and possible redeployment. During the same contact with Taliban forces, a second tank was caught in an explosion, but none of the crew were wounded.
Beginning on December 7, 2008, Leopard 2 tanks took part in Operation Red Dagger, firing 31 rounds in support of coalition troops as they recaptured Nad Ali district.
A press release from the British Ministry of Defence praised the tank's fire accuracy and mobility, claiming the Leopard 2 was a decisive factor in the coalition's success. Turkish intervention in Syria. Turkey operates 354 Leopard 2A4 tanks. Initially using other tank types including upgraded M60s, in December 2016 Turkey deployed a number of Leopard 2A4s to the Syrian civil war against Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIS, as part of Operation Euphrates Shield. Initially, 3 of the Turkish Leopard 2A4s operating in Syria were destroyed or damaged by ISIS using anti-tank missile systems, possibly Faggot or Conquer's anti-tank guided missiles obtained from Syrian or Iraqi army captured stocks. In mid-December 2016, 2 204 tanks were captured by ISIS near Al-Bab city in Syria during Euphrates Shield operations. Amaq news agency posted video of vehicles claimed to be captured Leopard 2A4s. By late December 2016, ISIS had captured or incapacitated 10 Leopard 2A4s. These were damaged by anti-tank weapons, IEDs, or other unknown causes. Additional ISIS propaganda images and video depicting several completely destroyed Leopards, some with their turrets blown off, were published in January 2017. Tanks which suffered the worst damage may have been destroyed by airstrikes in order to prevent capture, but sources generally state that the damage was caused solely with anti-tank missiles or car bombs driven by suicide bombers. In January 2017, the German newspaper Die Welt reported that ISIL fighters used 9 M133 Cornet anti-tank missiles to destroy 6 Leopard 2 tanks used by the Turkish military in Syria. At least 8 Leopard 2 MBT have been destroyed according to photographic reports. Turkey also confirmed the use of Leopard 204 tanks during the Turkish military operation in Afrin to the German government. These tanks were designed during the Cold War to fight against Soviet tanks in Europe, not counterinsurgencies against guerrillas, where the primary risk is improvised explosive devices and anti-tank missiles. These tanks were retired from German usage when sold to Turkey. There is a belief that the Turkish purchase of Leopard 2A4s from Germany was subject to the condition that they were not to be used against Kurdish separatists. Prior to 2016, the Leopard 204s were kept in northern Turkey. Once the German government discovered that the Leopard tanks were being used against Kurdish forces, planned upgrades to make them less vulnerable to explosives were halted. Ultimately, Turkey was forced to upgrade the Leopard 2A4s with domestic components, including a possible replacement of the original turret with that of the Turkish Altay main battle tank.
Variants. Leopard 2. The baseline Leopard 2, sometimes informally called the A0 to differentiate it from later versions, was the first series manufactured version. The vehicles were manufactured from October 1979 until March 1982, altogether 380 vehicles. 209 were built by Krauss-Maffei and 171 by Mack. The basic equipment consisted of electrical hydraulic stabilizer WNAH-22, a fire control computer, a laser rangefinder, a wind sensor, a general-purpose telescope EMES-15, a panorama periscope Perry R17, the gunner's primary sight Faro Z18, on the turret roof, as well as a computer-controlled tank testing set RPP 1-8. 200 of the vehicles had a low-light enhancer, PZB-200, instead of thermal imaging. 2 chassis served as driver training vehicles. Leopard 2A1. Minor modifications and the installation of the gunner's thermal sight, 1, were worked into the second batch of 450 vehicles. Leopard 2, designated the A1. Krauss-Maffei built 248, chassis NR 10211-10458, and Mack built 202, chassis NR 20173-20347. Deliveries of the 201 models started in March 1982 and ended in November 1983. The 2 most notable changes were the modification of the ammunition racks to be identical to those in the M101 Abrams, and redesigned fuel filters that reduce refueling time. A third batch of 300 Leopard 2, 165 by Krauss-Maffei, chassis NR 10459-10623, and 135 by Mack, chassis NR 20375-20509, was built between November 1983 and November 1984. This batch included more minor changes that were later retrofitted to the earlier 2A1S. Leopard 2A2. This designation was given to upgraded vehicles of the first batch of Leopard 2s, brought up to the standard of the second and third batches. This modernization gradually replaced the original PZB-200 sights in the first batch with thermal sights for the EMES-15 as they became available. The upgrade included the fitting of filler openings and caps to the forward hull fuel tanks to allow separate refueling. There was an addition of a deflector plate for the periscope and a large cover plate to protect the existing NBC protection system. The tank was given new 5-meter towing cables with a different position. The program began in 1984 and ended in 1987. The third, fourth, and fifth batches, which were produced during this period, had the same features. The modernized first batch can be recognized by the circular plate covering the hole where the crosswind sensor for the fire control system was removed. Leopard 2A3. The fourth batch of 300 vehicles, 165 by Krauss-Maffei, chassis NR 10624-10788, and 135 by Mack, chassis NR 20510-20644, was delivered between December 1984 and December 1985. The main change was the addition of the SEM80/90 digital radio sets, also being fitted to the Leopard 1 at the same time, and the ammunition reloading hatches being welded shut. Even with these minor changes, the new batch was known as the 2A3. Leopard 2A4. The most widespread version of the Leopard 2 family, the 2A4 models included more substantial changes, including an automated fire and explosion suppression system, an all-digital fire control system able to handle new ammunition types, and an improved turret with flat titanium/tungsten armor. The Leopard 2s were manufactured in 8 batches between 1985 and 1992. All the older models were upgraded to 2A4 standard. Until 1994, Germany operated a total of 2,125 2A4s, 695 newly built and the rest modified older versions, while the Netherlands had an additional 445 tanks. The 2A4 was licensed and manufactured in Switzerland as the Panzer 87 Leopard or PZ-87. This version included Swiss-built 7.5mm MG-87 machine guns and communications equipment and featured an improved NBC protection system. Switzerland operated 380 PZ-87 tanks. After 2000, Germany and the Netherlands found themselves with large stocks of tanks that they had no need for after the Cold War. These tanks were sold to NATO or friendly armies around the world. Among these buyers of the surplus tanks were Turkey, purchasing 354 vehicles, Greece, 183, Sweden, 160, Chile, 140, Finland, 139, Poland, 128, Austria, 114, Spain, 108, Canada, 107, Indonesia, 103, Singapore, 96, Norway, 52, Denmark, 51, and Portugal, 37. The PZ-87 Werder Haltung, is a planned Swiss modification and upgrade of the PZ-87. The modification significantly improves protection through the addition of the Leopard 2A6M's mine protection kit, thicker armor on the front glacis, and a turret equipped with a Swiss-developed armor package using titanium alloy. The turret roof armor is improved and the smoke grenade launchers are redesigned. Further improvements enhance survivability and combat capabilities, such as a turret electric drive similar to the Leopard 2A5, a driver rear-view camera, an independent weapon station for the loader, and enhanced command and control systems. The fire control system is upgraded, using the Carl Zeiss Optronics GmbH Perry R17A2 fire control system. A remote weapon station containing a fully stabilized MG64 0.50 in 12.7mm machine gun is fitted to the tank.
The Swiss company RUAG offered an upgrade package for PZ-87 main battle tanks to meet a possible requirement of the Swiss Army for improved protection. It is fitted with a new modular composite armor package. Armor modules can be tailored to provide enhanced protection against a specific threat. Damaged modules can be easily replaced in field conditions. Upgraded tanks are less vulnerable to direct hits, anti-tank missiles, RPG rounds, mines, and IEDs. The vehicle received new sensors such as a sniper detection sensor and a laser warning receiver. In 2021, the two prototypes with add-on armor were handed to the Milita Unifestens Museum voor Rheinmetall 200. The Indonesian Army operates the Leopard 2 Republic Indonesia or Leopard 2 RI, an upgraded variant based on Rheinmetall's MBT Revolution upgrade for the Leopard 2A4 tank. The upgrade includes AMAP armor from IBD Diesenroth and Rheinmetall Chempro, improved fire control systems, and battlefield management and situational awareness systems. The PZ-87-140 is an experimental variant of the Swiss PZ-87 with a 140mm gun and additional armor, which was later used on the newer production variants. The Leopard 2A4 CHL is the upgraded Chilean version of the Leopard 2A4 ordered by Chile in 2007. Upgrades include new electronics, sighting, and information systems meant to elevate the Leopard 2A4's networking capability to be equal to that of the Leopard 2A6, a new suspension system, and the upgrading of the tank main gun to the L/55 smoothbore cannon used on the Leopard 2A6. Other upgrades are remote weapon stations over the gunner and commander hatches fitted with the MG3 and HKGMG. The Leopard 2A4 CHL has improved roof and side turret armor and can be uplinked with Chile's battlefield control network. The Leopard 2A4M is the upgraded Canadian version of the Leopard 2A4 acquired from the Royal Netherlands Army surplus. The Leopard 2A4M is specially designed for the war in Afghanistan, based on experience gained by Leopard 2 operators. The first 20 were delivered in October 2010. 5 were deployed to Afghanistan at the end of 2010 and operated until July 2011, when combat operations stopped. Though originally planned to be upgunned to the L/55 for consistency with the 2A6M can, the longer-barreled guns, optimized for tank versus tank warfare, were found to be less than ideal in Afghanistan, therefore it was decided to retain the L/44. Only small areas of slat armor were added, in contrast with the fully caged 2A6M cans. The protection of the Leopard 2A4M has been further augmented by the addition of applique armor resembling that found on the most recent Leopard 2A7 Plus variant, but modified to fit the turret configuration of the 2A4. Of the 2A4S acquired, 11 were converted for training use, 9 A4S, 2 A4MS. In February 2011, Canada bought 12 2A4S/PZ-87 from Switzerland for the Force Mobility Enhancement Project which, along with the remaining and used ex-Dutch tanks, saw 18 converted to armored engineering vehicles and 4 converted to armored recovery vehicles. Canada has also purchased 15 2A4S from Germany as logistic stock vehicles, for spare parts. The Leopard 2NG, Next Generation, is a privately funded Turkish upgrade by Aselsan that includes the application of AMAP, upgraded optics, completely overhauled turret mechanics, and a new fire control system on the work since 1995 and to be delivered by late 2011, which is intended to be used on the new Altay MBT. It was developed without an order from the Turkish Army, but might meet the requirements for the modernization of the Turkish Leopard 2A4S. The old power pack and the L/44 gun barrel are kept, but the combat weight is increased to 65 tons. According to Turkish news sources, Finland was interested in getting the Turkish upgrade package to modernize their fleet of Leopard 2A4s. However, in 2015 Finland purchased 122 A6 vehicles from the Netherlands. The Leopard 2 hull was used for the Vickers Mk7 main battle tank, which featured a British-designed turret, where some of the innovations later were incorporated into the Challenger 2 design. In December 2015, Bürmerleibdienst signed an agreement with German Rheinmetall Landsystem GmbH concerning the technological support of the Polish modernization program for Leopard 2A4 tanks. The company will design, document, and execute 6 prototypes. The first upgraded Leopard 2 PLs have arrived in Poland in June 2020, with all 142 tanks to be delivered by 2023. The upgrades include third-generation night vision systems, production of the Warsaw PCO, new additional armor modules and anti-splash lining, removal of flammable components, turret drive system and main propulsion system, installation of the new fire protection system, modernization of the tank's integrated monitoring and testing equipment, the possibility of using new types of ammunition, programmable DM11 and DM63, and an auxiliary generator set, APU. Construction of all 142 units will be completed by the end of 2020. Turkey is planning to modernize its Leopard 2A4 MBTs as Leopard 2A4 TR with the T1 modernization package. According to the Defense Industry Presidency, Leopard 2A4 tanks will be modernized with Explosive Reactive Armor (ERA), T1 Reactive Passive Armor, High Ballistic Strength Cage Armor, Hollow Modular Add-on Armor, Close Range Surveillance System, YAMS, Laser Warning Receiver System, LIAS, SARP Remote Controlled Weapon System, UKSS, Poolet Active Protection System, AKS, a new Power Distribution Unit, a Selson Driver Surveillance System, ADS, and Voice Alert System integrations. The modernization program is to be completed in 2 batches. The program will start with 84 Leopard 2A4 tanks in the first batch and the remaining tanks will be modernized within the second batch. A total of 334 tanks, including prototypes, are planned to be upgraded with the T1 modernization program. The new modernized Leopard 2A4 that was presented at the BMC factory was fitted with an Altai turret, which is armed with one 120mm 55 caliber smoothbore gun designed and manufactured by the Turkish company MKE, based on a technology transfer from Hyundai Rotem of South Korea. A remote-controlled weapon station is mounted on the top of the turret, which is armed with a 12.7mm caliber heavy machine gun. In April 2023, during training by Ukrainian forces in Europe, a Leopard 2A4 was damaged in training, with the turret being completely dislodged from the hull. The crew are reported as being fine. The accident may be due to crew error or because of the age of the tank. Leopard 2 Marksman. Finland has modernized its Marksman SPAG vehicles by replacing the original T55AM chassis with a newer Leopard 2A4 chassis. The upgraded Marksman vehicles were scheduled to enter service with the Finnish Army in 2016. The new Leopard 2 chassis greatly improves mobility compared to the older T55AM chassis, both on and off-road. The Leopard 2 chassis is larger, providing a more stable firing platform for the Marksman turret to operate from. Leopard 2 Imp. Leopard 2 Improved was a prototype series for enhancing the A4, introducing a wedge-shaped, spaced add-on armor to the turret front and the frontal area of the sides. These spaced armor modules defeat a hollow charge prior to reaching the base armor, and cause kinetic energy penetrators to change direction, eroding them in the process. It does not form a shot trap, since it does not deflect the penetrators outwards to hit the hull or turret ring. The gun mantlet was redesigned to accept the new armor. Leopard 2 A5. The Leopard 2 Imp was developed into the A5. There were some improvements in the main armor composition. The interior received spall liners to reduce fragments if the armor is penetrated. The frontal heavy third of the side skirts was replaced with a stronger type. The commander's sight was moved to a new position behind the hatch and it received an independent thermal channel. The gunner's sight was moved to the turret roof as opposed to the cavity in the front armor in previous models. A heavier sliding driver's hatch was fitted. Turret controls went all electric, increasing reliability and crew safety, as well as weight savings. The gun braking system was improved to prepare for the later mounting of the new L/55 gun tube and to enable firing of more powerful ammunition, such as the DM-53 APF-SDS. The first A5s were handed over to the German Army Tank School in 1995 and started to enter regular service with Panzerbattalion 33 in December the same year. The Leopard 2A5DK is a variant of the Leopard 2A5 similar to the Leopard 2A6 with some small modifications, used by the Danish Army. Stridsvagn 122. Based on the Leopard 2 improved, Stridsvagn 122 is a Swedish Army tank. 120 units were built, 91 of which were license-produced in Sweden. The tank features increased armor on the turret top and front hull, and improved command dash, control and fire control systems. Externally, it can be distinguished from the Leopard 2A5 by the French Gallic smoke dispensers, different storage bins, and the much thicker crew hatches. The STRV-122B Plus Evolution, a variant equipped with modular AMAP composite armor from IBD Deisenroth, has increased 360 degrees protection against threats like EFPs, RPGs, and IEDs. The width of 4 meters, 13 feet, has been kept, while the weight increases by only 350 kilograms, 770 pounds. Leopard 2 to 140. In the early 1990s, Rheinmetall began development of a 140mm smoothbore cannon for use in future tank designs. The new gun was intended to counter new Soviet tank developments, especially since the next generation of Soviet main battle tanks were rumored to be armed with a 135mm or 152mm cannon. The new 140mm cannon was part of a modernization program for the Leopard 2 known as the KWS-3. Test firing of the new 140mm cannon was conducted. Results showed that the gun had high penetration values, and had a muzzle velocity of around 2,000 meters a second, with potential to be increased further. However, the 140mm rounds were too heavy for the tank crew to handle effectively. The KWS-3 upgrade was to feature a new turret. This new turret was equipped with a planned 140mm cannon and an autoloader. The introduction of an autoloader reduced the tank's crew to 3 members, as a dedicated loader was no longer needed. The gun's 32 rounds of ammunition were stored separate from the crew in a large compartment occupying the entire rear of the turret, in order to increase crew survivability in the event of a cook-off. The turntable-style turret had the gun offset to the left side, due to the autoloader's lateral feeding of ammunition into the cannon breech. The turret was powered by an electro-hydraulic drive and featured an IFAS battlefield management system. The crew was protected by an armored capsule, and ballistic protection for the hull was to be improved. The planned protection level of the KWS-3 upgrade was to be equal to or better than the Leopard 2A5. A total of 650 Leopard 2 KWS-3 tanks were originally projected to be purchased. However, in 1995, the KWS-3 program was cancelled due to changes in the political environment. Despite this, development continued on the 140mm cannon, with Rheinmetall coordinating with the British Royal Ordnance and French GIAT companies. The 140mm cannon was fitted to an old Leopard 2 prototype with the turret T-19. Counterweights were added to the rear of the turret to balance the increased weight of the 140mm cannon. The modified Leopard 2 was not equipped with any other KWS-3 upgrades apart from the new gun. Live fire testing showed mixed results, where the 140mm cannon showed superior penetrating power compared to the existing 120mm cannon, but demonstrated poorer handling characteristics. The lack of the autoloader on the prototype further hampered performance. Leopard 2A6. The Leopard 2A6 includes the addition of the Rheinmetall 120mm L/55 smoothbore gun and other changes. All German tank battalions of the Crisis Intervention Forces are equipped with the A6. Canada purchased 20 Leopard 2A6s from the Netherlands. These were delivered in 2007. Portugal purchased 37 Leopard 2A6s from the Dutch in 2007, with delivery in 2008. In January 2014, Finland purchased 100 L2A6s, as well as munitions, simulators, and a 10-year supply of reserve parts from the Netherlands. The tanks were delivered in batches between 2015 and 2019. The Leopard 2A6A1 is a command version of the Leopard 2A6, stemming from the KWSI program. The vehicle includes additional radios, with the amount depending on the level of command, to accommodate the communications for section, platoon, troop, company, squadron, or battalion commanders. For section leaders, the vehicle is fitted with 1 XSEM-80 and 1 XSEM-90 VHF radios. For platoon or troop commanders, the vehicle is fitted with 1 XSEM-80 and 1 XSEM-90 VHF radios along with an 800M field telephone cable drum fitted at the rear of the vehicle. For company, squadron, or battalion commanders, the vehicle is fitted with 2 XSEM-80 or 1 XSEM-93 and 1 XSEM-90 VHF radios along with an 800M field telephone cable drum, for either fitted at the rear of the vehicle. The Leopard 2A6M is a version of the 2A6 with enhanced mine protection under the chassis and internal enhancements to improve crew survivability. In the summer of 2007, Canada borrowed 2A6MS from Germany for deployment to Afghanistan. The Leopard 2 Hel is a derivative of the 2A6 that was ordered by the Greek army in 2003. The Hel stands for Hellenic. The 170 tanks were delivered between 2006 and 2009. A total of 140 were built in Greece by ELBO, which delivered the first units in late 2006. The Leopard 2A6M is a Canadian variant of the Leopard 2A6M. Significant modifications include distinctive black boxes mounted on the rear of the turret bustle and standoff slat armor. The first tanks configured in this variant were 20 loaned from the German Bundeswehr in an effort to increase firepower and protection given to Canadian troops operating in the south of Afghanistan. The loaned tanks retain their German MG3 machine guns. The ex-Dutch tanks are also expected to retain their FN-MAG machine guns due to commonality with Canadian stocks of C6 GPMG, itself a variant of the FN-MAG. Due to the loan status of the first 20 tanks, the air conditioning unit originally could not be installed, as only minimal changes could be made. The crew wore cooling vests instead, and the turret's electric drive generates less heat than the hydraulic drive of the older Leopard C2. The loaned German tanks will be kept by the Canadian forces and may be further upgraded, while ex-Dutch Leopard 2A6S were modified to German Leopard 2A6M specifications and used as restitution for the loaned tanks. Canadian Leopard 2s in Afghanistan were later fitted with air conditioning units, a much-needed commodity in the scorching desert of Afghanistan, and Saab's Barracuda camouflage mats, which reduced solar loading by 50%. The Leopard 2A6TR was the Turkish variant during the Turkish Army tank procurement project in 2000. The version was based on 2A6EX. The project was dropped in favor of developing the indigenous Altai main battle tank. Leopard 2E. The Leopard 2E is a derivative of the 2A6, with greater armor protection, developed under a program of co-production between the defense industries of Spain and Germany. The program was developed within the frame of collaboration decided in 1995 between the defense ministries of both countries, which also included the cession of use by period of 5 years of 108 Leopard 204 from the German Army to the Spanish Army. The cession was extended up to 2016, and after that those tanks will be the sole property of the Spanish Army, as has been made public in January 2006, then having been paid a total of €15,124,014 in 10 yearly installments, giving the Spanish co-ownership from 2006. In 1998, the Spanish government agreed to locally build 219 tanks of the Leopard 2E line, 16 recovery tanks of Leopard 2ER, Buffalo, and 4 training vehicles. They chose Santa Barbara Sistemas as the main contractor. The program, with a budget of €1,939.4 million, includes integrated logistical support, training courses for crew instructors and maintenance engineers, and driving, turret, maintenance, aiming, and shooting simulators. Deliveries of the first batch began in 2004. Leopard 2PL. The Leopard 2PL is a Polish modernized version of the Leopard 2A4, carried out in cooperation with Rheinmetall and the Polish armaments group, POL. Polska Grupa Zbrojeniowa PGZ. The Leopard 2PL MBT is primarily tasked with assault, maintaining territory, and supporting mechanized and motorized subdivisions with its onboard weapon systems in all weather conditions during the day and night. The main upgrades when compared to the Leopard 204 include modernization of the commander's and gunner's sight, additional ballistic modules on the turret, replacement of the hydraulic stabilization system with a new electric system, and new fire extinguishing and fire suppression systems. The upgrade included a new commander's control and monitoring system, the installation of an auxiliary power unit, APU, a new turret stowage compartment for crew equipment, the modernization of its main gun to use new types of programmable ammunition, and the integration of day/night rear camera for drivers. Included are customized towing vehicles due to the increased weight of the upgraded tank. The upgraded 2PL version is in service with the Polish land forces. Of the Leopard 2A4S from the first, 128, and the second, 14, batches, 24 have been upgraded to Leopard 2PL standard. The rest will be upgraded to the 2PL M1 standard. Leopard 2 PSO. The new Leopard 2 PSO, Peace Support Operations, variant is designed especially for urban warfare, which had been encountered in peacekeeping operations with increasing frequency. The Leopard 2 PSO is equipped with more effective all-around protection, a secondary weapons station, improved reconnaissance ability, a bulldozer blade, a shorter gun barrel for maneuvering on urban streets at the expense of fire range, non-lethal armament, close-range surveillance ability through camera systems, a searchlight, and further changes to improve its perseverance and mobility in built-up non-wide open areas. These features are similar to the tank urban survival kit for the American M1A2 Abrams. Leopard 2A7. The Leopard 2A7 vehicle is not intended to be optimized for combat in urban terrain, thus it is fundamentally different from the KMW variant, the 2A7 Plus, see below. A total of 20 vehicles were provided for converting. It involves former Dutch S6NL models returned by Canada to Germany. The original upgrade to S6M has been extended in coordination with Canada and includes a crew compartment cooling system from the Leopard 2 S6M HEL series, a new 20 kW auxiliary power unit based on the Steyr Motors M12 TCAUI engine, the Saab Barracuda Mobile Camouflage System, MCS, with heat transfer reduction, HTR CoolCam, system, a field trial proven combat management and information system, IFIS, Integrierungsführungs- information system, onboard network optimization with ultracapacitors in the chassis and turret, a SODA's IP digital intercom system, a renewal of the fire suppression system in the crew compartment, and the retrofitting of Attica thermal imaging module in the commander optics. The weapon system is adapted for firing ammunition. It is fitted for, but not with, additional passive side protection armor. The first Leopard 207 was handed over to the German Army in Munich in December 2014. 14 vehicles were produced for Tank Battalion 203, 4 went to the Armored Corps Training Center and 1 vehicle went to the Technical School for Land Systems and School for Technology of the Army. The last tank remains as a reference vehicle at KMW. The tank features a completely new armor package that features tungsten, titanium as well as nanoceramics. The estimated armor protection for the hull is around 620 mm Ray KE, and near 1000 mm Ray KE for the turret. The Danish Armed Forces received its first Leopard 2A7 main battle tanks upgraded in Germany from the Leopard 2A5 DK version at the Dragoon Barracks in Holstebro. The Danish Army will receive a total of 44 Leopard 2A7 vehicles by 2022. Simon T. Wiesman, senior researcher at CIPRI's Arms Transfers and Military Expenditure Program, stated that information from the UN Register of Conventional Arms 2016 indicated that some Leopard 2A7s were transferred to Singapore after 2014. CIPRI reported that the Singapore Army probably acquired a total of 45 Leopard 2A7s between 2016 and 2019, but the Singapore's Ministry of Defense denied having acquired the 2A7 version, presumably to minimize anxiety among her neighbors. In February 2023, Norway ordered 54 Leopard 2A7 tanks to be delivered from 2026, with a further option for 18 vehicles if necessary. Leopard 2A7 Plus. The Leopard 2A7 Plus was first shown to the public during the Eurosatory 2010, featuring the label developed by KMW, tested and qualified by the German Ministry of Defense. The Leopard 2A7 Plus has been tested by the Bundeswehr under the name URBOP, Urban Operations. The Leopard 2A7 Plus is designed to operate both in low-intensity and high-intensity conflicts. The tank's protection has been increased by modular armor. The frontal protection has been improved with a dual kit on the turret and hull front, while 360 degrees protection against RPGs and mine protection increased the survivability of the tank in urban operations. The modular armor system components were first used by Canada and Afghanistan. It can fire programmable high-explosive munitions.
The turret-mounted MG3 has been replaced with a stabilized FLW-200 remotely controlled weapon station.
Mobility, sustainability, and situational awareness have also been improved. In December 2018, Hungary ordered 44 Tu-7+S, making them the second operator of the improved version, after Qatar. Leopard 2A8. To replace the 18 Leopard 2A6 tanks handed over to the armed forces of Ukraine, the German Ministry of Defense is expected to purchase a batch of at least 18 Leopard 2A8 tanks, with option for several hundred. The plans still have to be approved by the German parliament due to the contract exceeding a value of 25 million euros. The Leopard 2A8 will be based on the current Leopard 2A7HU production model but feature additional improvements, among them the integration of the Trophy APS and an all-round situational awareness system with sensor fusion capability. Engineering and driver training tanks. Bergpanzer BPZ-3 GR Buffalo. The BPZ-3 armored recovery vehicle includes both a bulldozer and a crane with integral winch, allowing it to approach damaged vehicles, even over rough and fought-over terrain, and tow them to safety. It is equipped with a machine gun for local self-defense, a smoke grenade launcher, and NBC protection. Like the tank, it is powered by a 1,500 PS, 1,479 horsepower, 1,103 kilowatts, diesel engine. It is in service with Germany, where it is also designated Buffel or Bergpanzer III for Salvage Tank 3, the Netherlands, who co-developed it and calls it Buffel, Canada, Greece, Singapore, where it is called L2ARV locally, Spain, where it is called Leopard 2ER Buffalo, Sweden, in modified form as the BGBV-120, and Switzerland, BPZ-3. Panzerschnellbrücke II. This vehicle, created by Man Mobile Bridges GmbH, is an armored vehicle-launched bridge developed from the Leopard 2 tank chassis. It is designed to carry a folding mobile bridge, which it can launch across a river. Once in place, the bridge is sturdy enough to support most vehicles, even other Leopard tanks. When the crossing is complete, the bridge layer simply hooks up to the bridge and restows it. Panzerschnellbrücke Leguan. This modular system combines a bridge module created by Man Mobile Bridges GmbH with a tank chassis. The Bundeswehr is testing the Leguan on Leopard 2 chassis. AV-3 Kodiak. Main article, AV-3 Kodiak. The AV-3 Kodiak is a combat engineering vehicle conversion of the Leopard 2 used by the Netherlands, Singapore, Sweden, and Switzerland. It is equipped with a bulldozer blade, excavator arm, and dual capstan winches. In lieu of a turret, a remote weapon station or other armaments can be fitted. It is built on the Leopard 2 chassis with a built-up forward superstructure. The vehicle is used primarily for the clearance of obstacles, including minefields. The Dutch version has additional bomblet protection for the crew compartments. Spain may procure 24 examples for the Spanish Army from converted Leopard 2A4 hulls. One vehicle has been trialed in Spain, and the type will be offered to Germany. Driver Training Tank, Fahrschulpanzer. The Leopard 2 driver training tank, as the name implies, is a non-combatant Leopard 2 for instructing soldiers in the finer points of handling the tank. The turret is supplanted by a weighted and fixed observation cab with forward and side-facing windows and a dummy gun. The instructor rides in this cab, with override controls for critical systems, and space is provided for 2 other students to observe. Leopard 2R. A heavy mine-breaching vehicle developed by Patria for the Finnish Army, based on the Leopard 2A4. 6 vehicles were converted. The vehicles are equipped with a mine plow or a dozer blade, and an automated marking system. All were donated to Ukraine in 2023. Leopard 2L. An armored vehicle-launched bridge developed by KMW and Patria for the Finnish Army. 10 Finnish 2A4 tanks were rebuilt to carry the Leguan bridge. Visent 2. A multi-purpose, Leopard 2-based armored support vehicle developed by Flensburger Fahrzeugbau. The vehicle's modular design allows it to be converted quickly from an armored recovery vehicle, ARV, to an armored engineer vehicle, AEV, in less than 5 hours.